always knew it would end like this somehow. My life has always had a cruel irony about it. I should explain. You see, ever since my friend from when my family lived in Texas died from the bite of a black widow, I've been almost deathly scared of spiders. I watched my friend after the bite as they tried to rush her anti-venom. She had been bitten while she was playing earlier that day, but we were alone. By the time her parents came home, she was already burning with fever and her entire arm hurt from the venom. I watched as she lost all control of her muscles, becoming a blob of jelly before finally succumbing to death. That happened when I was 7. It's been 29 years since then, and I get so scared when I see a spider. I've even had to be taken to the emergency room from how worked up I got. My husband, however, does a good job of keeping the little crawlers away from our home. We never saw them inside, and he would take care of them before I saw them. But today was something I could never imagine seeing. He had been gone on a business trip for about 3 days, and the delivery man brought by a large, long box. It reeked of something dead. It was heavy too, heavier than most deliveries that guy did. He laid it on the ground and offered to open the box for me. I should have said no. He pulled out a crowbar and began to pull the lid off the box. Surprisingly, it flew off, but the contents were also flung onto him, and I screamed murder at the sight. A good amount of black widows were flung onto him as he was bitten continuously by them, and fell to the ground, screaming in pain. I looked over into the box to see something even more horrific. The corpse of my husband, crawling with black widows. He had obviously been a good snack for them. I slammed the door shut and tried to call the police, but my phone lines were dead, and my cell wasn't getting any reception. Oddly enough, I heard something outside my door. I think they were actually tearing through the wood. They were coming for me, coming to devour me as well. Something just fell. I looked to the doorway, and they all have made their way in. They seem to be lining up, as if trained to kill like a military combat squad. I pull out the gun we keep in the nearby hallway for intruders. If I have to choose, I'd rather it be quick and painless. Fairies, possibly the most beautiful creatures to ever walk this earth. They have bright spectrum of colours that decorate their paper-thin wings. Their beautiful songs make a person fall asleep and dream of running through a meadow of bright flowers on a warm day. All may seem perfect on the outside, but nothing is what they seem. The species of fairies, also known as clarifocalis, is a horrible species that are known to have multiple mental disorders, such as bipolar disorder and schizophrenia. About 70% of fairies are likely to develop one of these disorders during the course of their life. It fuels their drive to murder and torture, usually in gruesome manners. Fairies have been known to capture small animals, such as rabbits, chipmunks, squirrels, and in some cases, other fairies. They will tie them to trees and force them to ingest deadly toxins, or cut them open from the neck to the reproductive organs and cause fatal blood loss or organ damage. Another method is that the front limbs and back limbs are tied, and one fairy pulls the front while a second pulls the back until the spinal cord is broken, or an internal organ is ripped. The murderer, or murderers, then consume the carcass of what or who they killed. Male fairies are scarce for a good reason. When a male is born, it's fair game. The mother would never consume its daughter, which develops slower than males, which are ready to go once it's born. Once the male is out of the womb and its cord has been cut, the female has no bond to it. The son must get away from the mother, or it will attempt to consume it. It lives alone its entire life, until it's old enough to mate at around 5 years. Once it finds a good mate, they have sexual intercourse, but afterwards, the female kills it and eats the wings of the male. Wings have a high amount of protein, and will be good for an expecting mother. The female then buries the male, and when its offspring is born, the mother lets them consume the carcass of their father. This is only if it is a female. Fairies also must be in their definition of perfect. Any simple flaws, a scar, a damaged wing, or dull wing colours put up a red flag. Some fairies are cannibals and will consume fairies whenever they get the chance. A flaw shows that another fairy is easy game. Now, aren't you glad you know that? Aren't you glad that the fairies you knew from your childhood are really bloodthirsty killers that would eat you? Yes, fairies will eat humans when they will. When a murder victim is never found, that's because fairies had a wondrous feast on some human flesh. Also, I suggest you look at your window. You look delicious. Have you ever gotten a feeling where it feels as if you're being watched? For example, when you go to bed at night, you know you're all alone, but it just feels as if something is right next to you, watching you. You roll over onto your side and try to make this feeling go away. There's nothing you can do about it, so you just suck it up and try to get some sleep. But no matter what, she's watching you. She's watching me as I write this. I can feel her heavily breathing down my back. Her long, greasy hair brushes against my arm. I tried not to turn around and look at the gruesome sight. I check my watch. It's 3 a.m. Witching hour. Well, that's what the people in my town say. Her damp, bony hand squeezes my left shoulder. Her long, filthy nails sink into my flesh, drawing blood. I scream in pain. She looks at me in the eye. Her eyes, no colour, no pupils, just plain white. Her eyes stare into my soul. She whispers something into my ear. It's hard to make out because her voice is like listening to two pieces of sandpaper violently rubbing together. It sounds kind of like Felicis, but what does that mean? She cuts a gash on my left arm. She puts her cold, chapped lips on my wound and sucks up the blood from the wound she has given me. She looks at me in the eye again and says something in English that sounds like, "I did not kill you, but I will come back. You have been warned." She stands up, revealing her almost transparent skinny legs. The rest of her body is like that too, for she is wearing what looks like a stained hospital gown. I feel sorry for her. She looks about 10 or 11. I reach out my hand and try to touch her, but she backs away and disappears in the shadows. I wake up on the floor of my bedroom. I am sweating and try to gasp for air. As soon as I catch my breath, I look at my hand. There is a deep scar in my left arm. I sit up, go downstairs and turn the TV on. The news channel appears on my screen. It says that there were a bunch of murders last night at 3 a.m. The reporter says that every victim had a deep scar in their left arm, just like mine. The reporter also says that all their blood had been drained and that their eyes had been taken and were replaced with buttons. I turn the TV off. She comes back every night now at 3 a.m. She comes and cuts me and drinks from my wounds. She is slowly draining all my blood, slowly killing me. She told me not to go to the police or hospital. But why? I don't know. Each day I'm beginning to look more and more like her. I'm also beginning to crave her blood. The time is 3 a.m. and I'm very thirsty. Hey guys, if you enjoyed this video, give it a thumbs up and share it with your friends. You can also leave a comment below. All feedback, good or otherwise, is always appreciated. If you have any creepy stories of your own, or have any topics that you would like me to cover, feel free to send them in via any of my social media. You can find all links to my social media in the description below. Until next time guys, make sure you lock your doors, stay safe, and I'll see you next video.